Okay, so I've clearly sucked at keeping up with these. I'm finding myself exceptionally avoidant about talking about this, which isn't necessarily a good sign. The closer I get to the court date, the more I don't want to talk about it. Such is life, though. Here I am, trying to continue. I'm really seeing where, with the last videos, I mean, it's good that I'm doing this because it's really fucking hard to remember the sequence of things, and they're testing my memory in testifying, which is ridiculous because the human memory sucks. Doesn't mean it didn't happen just because I can't remember it properly. But anyways, frustrated. So I realized I got as far as talking about the basement apartment that we were living in South London. That was actually just over a summer. It was basically just during the period that we were traveling and camping all summer was when we lived in that unit for the most part, and it was really shitty, and all our stuff ended up getting molded, and it was kind of awful. But it was also kind of fun camping all summer, though at the same time, it just meant that I was being abused on the road instead. It was really crappy. I was basically being raped in the back of the van all the time because that's what we were sleeping in, was an air mattress in the back of the van. So every morning that's what happened, and it sucked. But then we go to the beach and I'd spend all day building sandcastles on the beach and forgetting about it. So there's that. But anyway, during that summer, I can't remember any particular scars that I got. The worst thing was what I mentioned in the last video of him like cupping his hand and hitting my ear. And my ear's always been a little bit weird since from that. And then the following October, I think, right before or after my birthday, and I believe this is about grade 11, I think. No. Yeah, no. Yes, it's grade 11. We moved to somewhere that was sort of West London-ish, Midwest. It was the Midwest, sort of area. It was by the river. It was a nice place. I liked it. It was this little beat up house with the basement caved in, but the house itself wasn't bad, and he insulated it properly and stuff, so it wasn't so bad. But that's where some intense stuff began to happen. It's where he really started to mix in the abuse with the physical abusing beatings with the rape, and he also made me start like what's the word, repent for my badness, for my misbehaving in sexual ways, and I had been also recording it all as well. The police ended up getting some of that footage, which, I mean, even though it's physical, genuine evidence that it happened and any person should be like, yes, okay, now they have proof. I bawled when she called me and she's like, so what happened was he actually had to grow up, and they ended up confiscating his phone and various things and going through the house because of the grow up, and they can apply evidence they find from something else to a different case. So they found evidence on, I think, his phone of probably me giving fellatio or something, and she called me and let me know. She's like, just so you know, we found footage and we have that. And I just burst into tears. I was so upset that now people are genuinely seeing that, because they have to, for evidence. And it's funny because, again, you think, yay, there's proof, but I'm pretty fine with me testifying as proof, and all the people that I ran to as part of my story as proof and like them all confirming my testimony instead of actual evidence. So that was stressful, but good for the case. Anyway, so Greenwood, rather, the place like by, that's sort of what it was called, by the river, was, it was hilarious. I was actually living next door to a friend who was, she was like 16 and pregnant, and I didn't even know it. Just this girl next door named Sam was pregnant. And I found out like a month before she moved that it was Sam, my friend from school, and I was just like, and then she moved to Alberta. But anyway, I miss her. He used to kick me out of the house a lot when we went there. It became a very regular thing to be yelling and screaming in the morning and then get booted out, presuming it's not a school day, so it's the middle of the summer. No. Were we there for a summer? Yeah, we would have been there for the summer, but also like weekends or holidays or whatever. If we got in a fight, which we were in a fight all the time, he'd just kick me out like with my purse and I'd go walking a lot of time in the winter. One way or the other. I never went downtown. I wish I had gone downtown more, but I was like anti-downtown when I was younger. So I'd like wander around the river, or I'd wander up to the mall and over to the Tim Hortons or stupid shit like that. And he'd always like drive up and pick me up and then drop me off again, or you know, depending on how it went. And a lot of hitting happened in the vehicle. I actually have like, I don't know if you can tell, but it would have been this side. So yeah, and you can, this side of my face. It's funny because in the camera it looks like this side of my face, but in person I've looked in the mirror and seen that like this side of my face looks more swollen, bigger, not parallel. I mean, nobody has a parallel face, but he used to hit me on this side of my face a lot because he was driving and like coming from this side. And I got, I had a lot of situations of missing school, as I mentioned before, and so I got into a habit of like trying to actively protect my face whenever he was going to hit me so that I could still go to school. You know, the bruise was under shirt or something. It wasn't very successful, but I tried in what ways I could. We lived there for, I think, almost a year before he bought a house by a park. And it's a nice little house. It was a nice property. Pretty sure he still has it too. And I'm trying to remember, as we were moving out of that house, things got really violent and frictiony, where like things were like half there and half at the other house. There was a time when there was a time when it was just an air mattress in my bedroom. I should explain that again too, but I'll back up in a second. When there was just an air mattress in my room, because that's all I had to sleep on at the time, I was like sent to my room or something and was there, and he ended up very upset with me and picking up the heater. It was actually an exact copy of this space heater. I still have another one, and that's his writing on it too. But anyways, and picking it up by the wire and beating me with it. So that was bad. My back hurt a lot from that one because I was just like huddled in a ball. But I didn't really explain the progression of my bed, which actually kind of explains the progression of how I ended up being raped, sort of, in the sense that when I first moved into his place in the lower apartment, way back in previous videos that I mentioned, I had my own bed. He just gave me the spare room bed. And then that bed, something happened with it where I think what it is there was a time where I got really, really ill and kind of had a night accident in it, and he decided it was already a piece of shit to begin with, and so he just kind of threw it from there. And he was like sleeping on the couch, and he gave me his bed. And then he began sleeping beside me to comfort me. And then that's when eventually the rapes began after that. And there was like, we always maintained that he had his own room, but I think we got just like an air mattress for it. And that was all. And he never actually slept on it or in his room. And then when we got to the basement apartment in South London that I mentioned in the last video, there was a time when I was 15 when I did not want to get out of bed. I just didn't want to wake up and get out of bed. So I slept for 20 hours. And on the 20th hour, after refusing to go to bed, or to get out of bed rather, for so long, like waking up and rolling over, waking up and rolling over, and I had a bathroom inside my room, so I don't really know why I was being like this necessarily. I mean, sure, I was traumatized, but anyways, I dreamt that I went to the washroom, and I genuinely did go to the washroom in my bed. At 15. And so I kind of ruined the bed. Like, woke up and like freaked out and then started trying to clean it up, but it was just kind of ruined. And we just kind of left it in a room that we ended up allowing to like build up with mold to show to an inspector to get the landlord in trouble, because I mean there was mold to begin with. It's just he apparently thought it was a good idea to let it get really bad and then show it to an inspector. So considering I ruined the bed already, it got left in that mess. So after that point, all we had was air mattresses. And when we moved to the place that I was just mentioning by the river, there was only 2 rooms, and one was used as an office for me to do my classwork, so it was basically just my bedroom. And then he claimed that he slept in the basement, and it was just a crock of shit. And so that's why I was on an air mattress. But I guess this bed had been moved to the new place at the time that the heater thing happened, but before leaving that place, we had actually gotten a bunch of money paid back from the government because my mother had been collecting the child tax benefit for me, even though I hadn't been living with her. I'd been living with him. So we like provided proof through getting a whole bunch of professionals to like sign paperwork saying that he had been caring for me. And the government took this and was like, okay, so she's been lying. And I don't know what they did to her. She was very upset though. She called me, like left a message on my voicemail because I wasn't answering any of her calls, calling me a money grabbing little bitch and telling me that I didn't care about anyone or anything, just who's holding my dollar or something along those lines. It was calls like that that really made me feel like I didn't have my family to turn to when things got really bad. So yeah, because like when I turned 16, which was 2006, which was in Greenwood. Just before then, like she had me calling her for a year. And then just after that, when I stopped calling her, I didn't plan on not talking to her forever. I was just being rebellious and upset. And she started leaving really nasty messages. What I mentioned just being one of them. And she left another one telling me that I was an embarrassment to her, an embarrassment to the family, an embarrassment to my father, and they didn't want anything to do with me. They didn't care what happened to me if I became famous or whatever. It didn't matter. She just didn't want anything to do with me. So, like, I don't know how else you can disown a person if not saying something like that. She's now sorry, doesn't even remember saying it. because she was like apparently in a drugged stupor, and like is now trying to be, she's trying to be cool and help and take care of me, and like is being pretty understanding that she can't take that back, and at the same time it's cool to not still be absent in my life, in my opinion. So yeah, but she said that, so I really felt like, on top of other messages, because I wasn't speaking with her and I wasn't talking to her for a while, and I mean, I didn't plan on not talking to her forever, but after getting messages like that, it turned into forever. Well, 6 years. She kept leaving bad messages, and my number didn't change for a very, very long time, and one of the main reasons it wasn't changed, and my adoptive father was completely in control of that, is because he knew that she kept calling and relied on that number working to believe that I was still alive. And she admitted that it really, really hurt the day that my number finally changed. I don't remember when that was. I think I was 18 or 19, I'm not sure. But that's when things were getting really bad financially for us. But yeah, because of some of the things she said, that's what really made me feel like I couldn't go back. I had nothing to go back to when things got really crazy, which they did. They really did. As he was kicking me out more and more, it started turning into like pack a bag and get out, and then he'd like come and get me, and I never felt like I had anywhere to go, so I just wander until he'd come and get me. And trying to think of like, the rest of the scars happened in the next place. Just to see where I am in this thing. Yeah. I have this memory. It's actually, I think it's further back in where I am in the story now, but I just have this memory of him making me, after fellatio, or maybe it was during fellatio, lick his ass, and it was just the most disgusting experience. And then like he told me, I don't know, I ended up the next morning just feeling so utterly traumatized by what I had done and been made to do. And just walking down the school hallway, just feeling like I had been electrocuted. I was in so much shock. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I was just in shock of what I'd just been through, and I was just walking down the hall like no one knows. No one has any idea that I just went through that. And many times happened like that. And then we finally moved out of Egerton. I have memories. I guess that's where some scars came from. Like, I have a lot of scars along my shin from him kicking me in the shin a lot while we were living in that place near the river. And then one main thing I do have is my finger right here. I have a baseball finger, you can see. And that's because there was a time he was kicking me in the ass, like telling me to go to my room, and he had steel toe boots on, and it started to really hurt my tailbone, and so I didn't think about how much it would hurt my hand, put my hand in the way, and his foot kicked my finger and just like baseballed it, jammed it, and that was the worst pain I can't say that's the worst, because anal rape was definitely the worst, but like, that's one of the worst memories of pain, because I was just sent to my room, like the room was dark, I was on the air mattress on the floor, and like had nothing to focus on except the throbbing, excruciating pain in my finger, which when it's that focused is just like, oh, it was pretty awful. It's not enjoyable. I'm really sucking at making this shorter, but anyway, oh well. And then, yes, we moved to the new house. There was a lot of violence in between of, like, yeah, him beating me with things, and such as heaters and various other objects, and like smashing my head into the wall, through the drywall, and just like throwing screwdrivers against the wall and having them go through the wall and then fall down, and then he has to kick the wall to get them out, and kind of ruined the house a lot before we left. But then I believe he drywalled it before he left. Like, he fixed it up a bit, or for the most part. Anyway, and then when we got to the place that he had bought by the park, that's kind of where things really started to get twisted, I would say. I mean, you probably think it's already pretty damn twisted, but that's where things started. How old was I? I was 17 when he bought the house, and it was for my 17th birthday kind of thing, like just after my 17th birthday that it all went down. And that was the year that I finished high school. That was my grade 12 year. I missed a lot of school that year. But I graduated with honors, like always. And I guess I'll continue like into what happened in that house, because that's where stuff really started to go down. But I guess prepare yourself for some exceptionally graphic violence, because I guess the way I'm really like remembering things and connecting memories is where I was and scars I have left over, and just random memories that I still have. So those are mostly all the random memories up till 2007, 2008 time. So I will move on from there in the next video, which I will try to do sometime within this month to catch up on the fact that I'm kind of falling behind. But anyway, yes, that's where I was so far, and things kind of get worse from here. Guess I'll fill you in on that next time. Later, till then.